at least my morning exercise routine, and I was listening to several Kobe Bryant clips as I was working out. And as I was doing that, I started to realize that his approach or his expression of his masculine FI is very, I mean, unsurprisingly self-absorbed, but it very much doesn't care whether it hurts people or not. Like an audio ESFP, so he is audio consume sleep play blast. So he's double activated on the masculine FI at the top. And so for me, other than an actual IP, Kobe Bryant's probably the best role model for me when it comes to what masculine FI is and how it can be expressed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this clip with you. It's from Kobe Bryant's Muse. It's a good documentary on YouTube or somewhere else. I'll share that clip and then we'll just briefly discuss it, and then I got to get back to it.
That feeling of playing with that rage was new to me, but I fucking loved it. Just fun. Everything. I'm destroying everybody and stuff. Pent up frustration I just needed to let out. Avalanche, man. There was nothing that was going to get in the way. There was nothing that was going to stop me. Battle that's going on within me that I'm carrying with me to these competitions. So it's not about you. It's not about anybody else. You're not making me go. I'm driving this thing, man. And you just so happen to be the person that's in the way that may get demolished in the process.
All right, so that's about it. So, oh, so that's kind of the clip. Of course, I'll put in the description when I'm done. But hopefully you're able to hear it. I know the audio is a little bit kind of janky right now. But to make a long story short, especially when he was younger and in high school, that very first clip, he describes this discovery of his of he's able to play with this rage and this ferocity through the medium of basketball, right? He can express this intense feeling in a way that he's not going to get in trouble, basically, right? Because if you were to express this in any other way, like fighting people or things like that, that emotional expression would be punished. But in the context of basketball, he's allowed to express that, intense and really dark emotion, and actually benefit from it. And then, later on in the clip, he talks about how there's a battle going on inside him, and he's just using basketball to basically express the rage, the frustration, the anger that he has within himself, right? And as you heard, he doesn't really care who gets, hurt along the way with that. He's like, I'm not worried about you. I'm just going to express this, and try and work it out. And if you're in the way and you get demolished in the process, that's your problem, right? And so, for me, especially when it comes to having demon masculine FI, that's something that I'm very embarrassed about, very ashamed of, is if I mean, I've still done it, right? But it's embarrassing for me, where it's like when I start giving in to a certain emotion, especially if it's intense, right? And then I start expressing that, and I end up hurting people, or I end up, embarrassing myself publicly, then, I kind of get discouraged from doing that again. But I think with Kobe, one thing that I'm learning, and I think this might be a lesson for anyone with masculine FI, is that they don't care. Like when you're in a masculine FI mode, there's not a concern with the outside world. It's a concern with this emotion is so powerful and so important that it needs to have space in the world, regardless of how much it destroys, right? And so, last but not least, I'm gonna go back to the checklist just to kind of make sure that I'm not missing anything. So as you guys may know, so DI is composed of masculine, or sorry, is composed of DI, right? Um, Feeling, and then masculine DI, right? Hopefully I said that right. So starting off with the DI, just reviewing it. Obviously, it's about the me story, kiss my ring, standards, a little about others. There's a lot of other notes, no one understands me, and things like that. But I'm going to stick to this top one. And I think in the context of what this conversation is about, I do think that standards and, let's say, little about others or not concerned with others is going to be the priority here, right? Because for Kobe, from an emotional standpoint, he wants to play, you know, how would I word this? The standard would be, I need to be allowed to express this powerful emotion, and I should be able to use this, right, productively, right? And even if this hurts other people, that doesn't matter. As long as this dark emotion can be used to get me to the standard of performance that I need, that's enough, right? Scooting down to the feeling. So feeling is more about priorities, values, likes, communicates with emotions. I mean, well, obviously, there's more of an emotional communication going on, saying, "Hey, I have this rage, I have this pent up anger, I have this pent up frustration." Right? It's interesting that it says pent up as well, but I could do that in a later video. But basically, you know, I this pent up emotion is valuable enough to me that it deserves to be prioritized and expressed in the outside world. And then finally, the masculine DI, which is probably going to be the most obvious, is I don't know about agreeable in the case of Kobe destroying and dunking on people, but shoving on self is going to be kind of the most important thing, right? Because as you heard in that clip, it's a battle within him that he's worried about. He's not worried about, he's not even worried about crushing the enemy, right? You know, and, like much like Jocko Willing talk, like he talks like that. He's like, you need to be angry and you need to be brutal in order to crush the outside world, which is more masculine DE. Kobe Bryant's not concerned with that. His concern is, I need to crush this weaker version of myself. I need to crush whatever this conflict is within myself. And if anyone else is in the way, as I'm trying to work that out and express that in the outside world, you might as well die, because it doesn't really matter whether you live or die, as long as I get that. So this was more of a shorter video. For me, I guess the key takeaway is, I need to find areas in my life where I lean more into that FI, into my masculine FI, and find ways to express it and not worry about how the outside world experiences the consequences, right? But I think much like Kobe towards the beginning, I need to find an area where that's appropriate, right? So, for example, sports. I am starting to slowly look into martial arts, so that would be another natural expression. And but then even in terms of like my work ethic, right? So that would be kind of a few ways for me personally. But I would say for other people, you know, you guys kind of have to figure it out. But I do think that's a key takeaway. So that's about it. I'm gonna get back to what I got to do. It was great to see you guys, I guess. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you guys in a bit.